What if I told you the dream of owning one whole Bitcoin is not only dead, but that's the best news you'll hear all year? We've all been trained to think in whole numbers, but I'm here to tell you that zero point 0.1 Bitcoin today holds the same, if not more power than an entire coin once did. And I'm going to prove it to you. For most people, the idea of owning a full Bitcoin feels like a ghost, a story from a time when prices were in the hundreds, not hovering around $94,000. That six-figure price tag creates a massive psychological barrier, something called unit bias. It's our brain's quirky desire to own a whole unit of something. We'd rather have one small complete pizza than a single massive slice from a giant one. Because of this bias, countless people feel like they've missed the boat. They see the price and think, it's over for me. But that's where they're dead wrong. This is where the old dream ends and a new, much more accessible one begins. The game hasn't stopped. The units have just changed. Let's just call it what it is. For years, the ultimate crypto status symbol was owning one whole Bitcoin. It was a simple, powerful goal. But as the price soared, clinging to that old dream became the single biggest mistake a new investor could make. It's like refusing to buy a house because you can't afford an entire block in downtown Manhattan. It's an irrational and self-defeating mindset. This unit bias trap makes owning a fraction of something feel, well, lame. Owning zero point 0.1 BTC just doesn't sound as good as I own a Bitcoin. But that's emotion talking, not math. And it's costing people a generational wealth-building opportunity. An asset's value doesn't care if you own a whole number. It cares about scarcity and demand. So ask yourself, would you rather own one whole worthless penny stock or 0.1% of a profitable booming company? The answer is obvious, right? Yet with Bitcoin, our brains get stuck on the number one. We have to break free from that mental block and start thinking in terms of your percentage of the network. Because when you actually run the numbers, you realize that owning just a fraction of Bitcoin today is a position of incredible power. To really get why 0.1 BTC is the new 1.0, you have to look back. In February 2011, Bitcoin hit a huge milestone. It was officially worth $1. Owning one Bitcoin meant you had $1. A cool achievement. But let's be real, it was just a buck. Fast forward to today. At current prices, 0.1 Bitcoin is worth over $9,000. In pure dollar terms, owning a fraction of a coin today makes you significantly wealthier than a whole coiner was for years in Bitcoin's early history. But it's about more than just price. It's about your share of the network. Back in 2011, only about 5 million BTC existed. Today, with over 19.9 million coins in circulation, that's more than 95% of the total supply that will ever exist. The network is vastly more established. Owning 1.0 BTC back then meant you had a piece of a tiny experimental project. Owning 0.1 BTC today gives you a meaningful slice of a global, multi-trillion-dollar asset. Think of it this way. Owning an acre of undeveloped wilderness is one thing. Owning a tenth of an acre in downtown Tokyo is something else entirely. The digital land of Bitcoin has been developed, and the world is moving in. Owning 0.1 BTC now is like having owned that prime Manhattan real estate back when it was all farmland. You don't need the whole field anymore. A small plot is immensely valuable. So what's driving this new reality? It all comes down to one word, scarcity. But not just any kind of scarcity. Bitcoin has absolute mathematically proven scarcity. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin. Period. That number is baked into the code, defended by a global network, and can't be changed by a CEO, a government, or a central bank. It's the first truly finite digital asset in human history. This is where the famous stock-to-flow model is so revealing. It measures scarcity by comparing the existing supply, the stock, to new production, the flow. For assets like gold, it takes over 60 years of mining to reproduce the current supply, which is what makes it a great store of value. Bitcoin's design takes this to a whole new level. Roughly every 4 years, the halving cuts new Bitcoin supply in half. After the 2024 halving, Bitcoin's stock-to-flow ratio blew past gold's, making it arguably the scarcest asset on Earth. Each halving makes it exponentially harder to create more, while fiat currencies are printed into oblivion, quietly stealing your savings. This predictable tightening supply is crashing into a tidal wave of new demand. Major corporations are putting Bitcoin on their balance sheets, and the approval of Bitcoin ETFs has swung the doors wide open for a flood of institutional money. As trillions of dollars search for a safe haven from inflation, they are all fighting for a piece of the same, unchangeable 21 million coin pie. That collision of soaring demand and perfectly inelastic supply is the engine that multiplies the value of every fraction of a Bitcoin. Let's run the numbers because this is where it all clicks. There are over 8 billion people on Earth. If the entire supply of 21 million Bitcoin were split evenly, there wouldn't be enough for everyone to own even a tiny piece. But let's make it more exclusive. There are roughly 60 million millionaires in the world as of early 2026. If they all decided they wanted one Bitcoin, they'd be out of luck. There simply aren't enough whole coins to go around. If the supply were split among just them, each millionaire would only get about 0.35 BTC. This means if you own just 0.1 Bitcoin, you're in an incredibly exclusive club. You own more Bitcoin than the vast majority of the world's population ever could. You're already playing in a different league. To make it more tangible, let's talk in Satoshis or Sats. One Bitcoin has 100 million Satoshis. Owning 0.1 BTC makes you a 10 millionaire in Satoshis. As Bitcoin's price climbs, the world will have to reprice things in this new unit. People will stop talking about whole Bitcoins and start bragging about owning millions of Sats. Owning 0.1 BTC makes you an early adopter of this new language of wealth. It's not just an investment. It's a significant stake in a future global financial network, giving you sovereignty outside a failing system. Look, no investment is a sure thing, and anyone telling you otherwise is selling snake oil. Bitcoin is famously volatile. We've seen heart-stopping drops of 80% or more. That's tough to stomach, and you have to be ready for it. But, as Michael Saylor says, volatility is vitality. It's the price of admission for an asset finding its place in the world, unlike the slow, steady bleed of your fiat currency. And yes, there's regulatory risk. Governments are still trying to figure Bitcoin out. While the trend in major economies is toward regulation and integration, especially with ETFs now live, the road won't always be smooth. But the core thesis, Bitcoin's unchangeable scarcity and its decentralized nature, is unaffected by this. These risks are short-term noise. For the long-term holder who gets it, that volatility is just an opportunity. The long-term trajectory has only ever pointed up, precisely because of that beautiful engineered scarcity. We are at a turning point. The narrative has changed. The goal is no longer about hoarding one whole coin. It's about securing your fractional stake in the toughest, most decentralized monetary network ever created. Owning 0.1 Bitcoin isn't a get-rich-quick scheme. It's a deliberate choice to step away from a system of endless money printing and into a future built on verifiable truth. It's about protecting your wealth and taking back your financial freedom. So what now? It's time to kill your unit bias. Stop saying it's too late or I can't afford a whole one. Start thinking in percentages. Start thinking in sats. Every fraction you secure is a piece of digital territory that can never be created again. The dream isn't dead. It just got a lot more divisible. 0.1 Bitcoin is the new 1.0. Welcome to the future of wealth. If this mindset shift makes sense to you, let me know in the comments. What's your goal in Satoshis? Let's start talking about wealth in the new paradigm. And if you got value from this, make sure to subscribe because we're just getting started on this financial revolution.